What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. I got multiple stories here for you guys in this video. Let's jump right in. Okay, first up, major banks fined yet again for doing stuff they're not supposed to. If you've been watching my channel, you've been seeing how these banks are just getting fined left and right for opening up bank accounts in people's names that they're not supposed to, all sorts of stuff here, and I'm keeping you up to date here if you've been watching my channel. Now, banks hit with $549 million in fines for using messaging apps to evade regulators' reach. U.S. regulators on Tuesday announced a combined $549 million in penalties against Wall Street firms that failed to maintain electronic records of employee communications, because who knows what they're talking about, if there's sensitive information of customers being talked about. And what they're saying is widespread and long-standing failures to maintain records, including allowing employees to use unsupervised side channels and messaging apps such as WhatsApp and Signals, including the managers who are supposed to be regulating this stuff, also using these. Wells Fargo was the biggest U.S. bank cited in these sweeping actions. I just did a whole video on them. Also, including JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Citigroups. Fines related to the issue totaling more than $2 billion, including to the SEC and CFTC. Yeah, it just seems like these banks are getting fined left and right for doing things they're not supposed to. Yikes. This comes as consumer debt on American credit card balances surpasses $1 trillion, as credit card interest rates are at the highest they have ever been, ever. The average credit card interest rate over 20%, which means you're paying 20% per year, which is basically like loan sharking to me. And the highest credit card interest rates at over 35% per year. It's an actual nightmare. Try to pay those things off as fast as you can, because it's literally making the banks rich and stealing, robbing from the poor and giving to the rich. Yeah, consumer debt grew by almost $18 billion in the latest numbers just released here, which is for June. That's the latest numbers they gave us recently, actually. And on the Federal Reserve rate hikes that have just gone up here yet again, drove up a sharp gain in the amount of outstanding credit card payments like mortgages and car loans. The numbers, which are not adjusted for inflation, come in well ahead of expectations at $13 billion, and nearly double the increases from the previous month at $9.4 billion. Debt levels on lump sum purchases like houses and student loans increased $18.4 billion. Wow. Offset by a 0.6% decrease in the amount of revolving credit, which includes things like credit cards and lines of credit. The reason for the dip in revolving credit is catching the eye of economists. Get this. This is surprising and inconsistent with other data we have on consumer spending in the month. They said these data are erratic and often subject to substantial revisions. But if we see another drop in July, that would indicate that some consumers are getting maxed out on their credit cards, and that would likely be the reason for that. And we may be in for a substantial slowing in consumption in the second half of the year. Wow. Yeah, just yet another sign that these interest rate hikes are absolutely just pounding the U.S. economy and average everyday people, the people who live and die and breathe in this country, and small and medium-sized businesses who really can't even get access to capital right now at with the cost of it just being sky high. And we're starting to see even more and more bankruptcies from businesses because when they try to get access to capital, it's just too expensive or they can't even get access to it. And now the next crises we're going to see on our hand is going to be this. Student loan borrowers brace for the wave of repayments going to be starting here soon. Over 40 million, I think it's like 45 million people are going to be bracing for that. The average student loan payment is like over five or around $5,000 per year. That's going to be a new nightmare. The payment pause was a bit or a lot of a life vest, which went all the way back from the start of the pandemic, back from 2020, which started with former President Donald Trump. But everybody knew at some point it had to end, and that end has come. When do student loan repayments resume? Interest will start accruing on September 1st, and loan repayments will begin in October. Yeah, what is the on ramp for student loans? There is a 1 year leniency program that will begin October 1st and end on September 30th of 2024. The program will, quote, help borrowers avoid the harshest consequences of missed, partial, or late payments, according to the Education Department. But interest will start accruing. That's one of the most important things, guys. Borrowers who miss or are late in payments won't be reported to the credit reporting agencies, nor will they be considered in default. Their loans won't be sent to collection agencies. It's basically going to be forbearance that borrowers don't need to take action or get into. Does that mean I can skip repaying my loans? It depends on your tolerance for financial pain down the road. While the worst consequence of missing your loan payments will be waived until September 30th of 2024, interest will continue to accumulate during the on-ramp period. People need to know that they will continue to accrue interest. Their balances will grow. So if they're not making payments during this time, then their balance will be higher come next year. Don't skip payments if you can get into the new SAVE program. Skipping repayment may seem enticing, especially if you don't have the budget to start repayments, but there's another option that could provide even more help to millions of borrowers. That new option is the new Saving on a Valuable Education program known as SAVE, an income-driven repayment program which pegs a borrower's monthly payment program to their income. The SAVE program, which opened this month through a beta application, could cut monthly payments in half or even to zero on a borrower's income. Many will save up to $1,000 a year on repayments, according to the Biden administration. So I encourage you, if you have federal student loans, please look into the SAVE program. Google it. Make sure that you go to the Student Education Loan Program Education Department. Make sure you're on the official education thing website. Make sure you don't go to some other website and look into it because it might save you money. Again, I don't have student loans, so I haven't looked into all the details, but I do know that it could save you money. One of the most important things to be aware of is that what you need to pay, what you don't need to pay, and also the interest that accrues. Because remember, interest is like giving your money to a bank. It's like driving down the street and throwing a wad of 20s out the window. Okay, so you got to be careful with that. When you pay interest, if you go to a grocery store and you buy $200 worth of groceries on a credit card, you're basically paying $300 for that groceries or $400 for that groceries. Okay, a lot of people don't quite realize that. They'll be like, "Oh, but I have to buy groceries," and they put it on a credit card. You don't have to put it on a credit card. Okay, you could buy it with just your debit card or with cash. Okay, every time you buy your groceries with a credit card, you're paying more for that groceries. It's costing you more money. Okay. And that's the financial problems that a lot of people get in life is that they go and they buy everything on a credit card and they let that interest accrue. And for years and years and years, they keep paying for it on a credit card. And, they're like, oh, but I don't have money. I don't have money. And they're trying to save money. And, they're giving coupons, but then they're putting everything on a credit card and they're paying a 20% interest per year. And really, they're paying 20% more for everything every year, and they're paying the minimum. And this is what, if you ever heard that saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, the rich pay off their credit cards every month. They just set it to auto pay, they pay it off, and the credit cards actually pay them in rewards. They give them cash back, and the credit cards actually pay them for using the credit cards. The poor they just don't have the financial knowledge, okay? And the same person can literally work the same job but just not have credit card debt, and they're not paying 20% every year to the credit card company. Credit card company may actually be paying them 2 or 3 or 5% cash back. And instead of paying 20% or 25% interest, they're actually getting 2 to 5% cash back. And it's a 25% spread difference there. Okay. And they're probably, the financially smart person is investing in their Roth IRA or their IRA or their 401k and other stuff there, and they're earning an extra 5 or 10% there, and you can see the difference is now not just 20 or 25%, which is a lot. Then they're earning an additional 5 or 10% there, and it's a difference of 50%. Okay, and this person literally grows wealthy over time and gets millions of dollars over the course of their lifetime, where this person is the person that goes their whole life and says, "Oh, I don't have money to save. I don't have money to save," and they go their whole life without a retirement fund. And this is just the difference of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, but it can be the exact same person working at the exact same job. This is the person who says, "Oh yeah, I got to put in my retirement fund. I got to just, take that little bit out of my check every month and put it away to my 401k." A 401k is literally just the exact same thing as a pension, okay? A pension, remember the old pensions that, my father got a pension, okay? Pension is the same thing as a 401k, okay? Because a pension, what they did is they took money out of your paycheck, okay, and they put it into a fund, and that fund actually went and invested the money into the stock market and the bond market. It's the same thing as a 401k. And it just sat there for years, and the company matched it, okay, and that money just grew over time for 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years. And then when you retired, they gave you a check every week. It's the same thing as a 401k or an IRA or a Roth IRA. The problem is now is that people are like, "Oh, I don't have the money to invest. I need all my money." And then they go and they put the money in onto their credit card, and they buy groceries, and they buy the $100 or $200 worth of groceries, and they end up paying $300 or $400 worth of groceries because they're giving their money to the credit card companies in interest. you know, and then they're like, "Oh, I can't afford to invest in my retirement fund." But if they were offered a pension, they would be like, "Oh yeah, pension's the greatest thing ever." But if they're offered a 401k, they're like, "Oh, I don't have money for that." And the company's like, "But we'll give you a match." And they're like, "Oh, I can't afford it. I don't want the match." And a match is like free money, free money. And the company's like, "We'll give you free money if you match it." And like, "Oh, I don't want that. I don't want free money." So at least I'm telling you this. Hopefully you'll take my advice. Remember, I'm talking to thousands of people here, but it's like I heard this stuff from people smarter than me, a long time ago, and hopefully you're hearing this stuff, from people that passed it down to me. And again, I'm talking to thousands of people. So this is the stuff that actually I really enjoy talking about to people. Hopefully you'll let it sink in a lot too. A lot of times people have to hear this over and over and over and over until it actually sinks in. But remember, giving your money away to credit card companies via interest, credit card companies like the credit card interest is like the worst interest ever. Interest on like a home is actually kind of good interest because you're paying towards an asset. Credit card or auto loan interest, not so great. I mean, you need a car, so you got to get to your work and stuff. So it's not that bad, but it's a depreciating asset. So it's okay. I mean, you need a car to get to work, right? So it is what it is. But like a home asset, it's an appreciating asset. some investors would tell you that homes aren't really that appreciating. It depends on the market you're in. But if you really like look at the money that goes into like the repairs and the property taxes and utilities, it's kind of iffy, but it's better than renting, right? You know, but if you locked in those 2 or 3% interest rates from a year or two or three ago, then you're like, yeah, it's pretty good, a whole lot better than renting. But it's like as you just get more financially knowledge over the course of time, you'll start to realize that this is pretty good stuff, right? But you just got to don't pay credit card interest or pay less and less and less of it. You know, pay that stuff off. If you're paying 20% credit card interest, do everything in your power to pay that stuff off. Just know that that is the absolute killer of your wealth. That's the worst thing you want to do. That's the worst thing. Yeah, that's your kryptonite right there. Pay that off as fast as you can and get rid of it. That's got to be your number one goal here in the next year, to get rid of that credit card debt, and then start. If you work at a job with a 401k, start contributing to that. Have an emergency fund too, because you know when your car breaks down or your air conditioner goes or anything like that, you're gonna need some money for that stuff too. And that's once you start to do all that stuff in the next 12 to 24 months, you'll be on a really good start. And that's a really good step, because honestly, there's so many people in life that don't even get that far. And honestly, those are things you can do in the next 2 years. You'd be really surprised when you start doing that stuff, and just stop contributing to lottery money or alcohol money or whatever, all that extra money stuff that you're spending on. You really can if you just a lot of people like hate on people like Dave Ramsey and stuff like that, but for beginner financial advice, he's actually kind of gives you a lot of really good advice. Not that I'm like sponsoring him or anything like that. And, I get some people who be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, like if you just focus on just paying off some debt and going to that um, place, you'd be like, it's a whole lot better than paying 20% credit card interest, especially in today's inflation rate. It's a nightmare. And guess what? They're going to probably raise interest rates again and keep them high. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here on a daily basis. And these banks, they're just going to keep taking advantage of people. Yeah. So make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon. It's completely free to do so. That's the best interest rate you can get. And thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Here's a video I just did on Wells Fargo Bank and some other banks, what they're doing right now. It's crazy. Yeah. Click on this video here. Or you can click here to see what Walmart, Target, and Kroger are doing here with some massive changes. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.